Hi everyone, and welcome to your extended research essay on your academic discourse community. So you have already done quite a bit of work for this. The first thing that you should have pretty solid by now is your research question. We've been working on that for a while, since the beginning of the semester. Do use your proposal as well as my feedback on your proposal to fine-tune that research question and use your question map. So that should be pretty solid by now. You can also make sure your research question will work for primary research by using Dr. Driscoll's work, pages 69 through 78 in Curious Researcher. So a note right now that we're using a research question because we are using primary research for this essay, meaning we're going out and observing something, or we're analyzing someone else's discourse, or we are doing a survey, or we are conducting an interview, perhaps doing a narrative inquiry, any of those things. As such, we need two types of sources. The first one is secondary sources, recursive research, okay? And this is where you go to the library, and ideally by now, as part 2 of your researcher's notebook, you have a list of all of the sources that you're thinking about using, and you're just adding to that list as you go along. The second type is, of course, primary research, right? So at this point, you should have created your annotated bibliographies. If you're not done with those, just keep working on them. You need to be finished with them by the time we are working on our literature review. So just make sure that you're on track with that. Your primary research. So once your primary research begins, you cannot change your research question. And that's an issue of ethical probability. So essentially, if you change your research question during the middle of your study, you won't get an answer based on your question, if that makes sense. Like, the data that you get won't align with what you asked. So you want to make sure that you use the introduction to primary research on Moodle and the latter half of chapter 2 in Curious Researcher to figure out what you want to do. Ideally today, we'll be able to talk about this. Organization. Now we will spend quite a bit of time talking about organization. We'll have 3 class periods where we talk about the 3 different major sections of a research paper. First, the literature review. Second, the methodology. And third, your analysis. So you will want to be working on each of those individually, and then we'll be putting them together with an organization that creates an argument. So here we know our paper should include an introduction that illustrates the problem in question, a literature review of the secondary research, a method section that shows us how you conducted your primary research, a results section and analysis, a discussion if needed, and further question sections. Those can be one section, or they are optional, depending on your need. Okay, there may be other areas that are developed, and each section may have several paragraphs, so that's something to note. Right, so when you write this, you're really bringing together a bunch of different elements, right? You have right now annotated bibliographies. Those will turn into your lit review. Your primary research and the data you collect, that will turn into your analysis, right? Results and analysis. Your methodology, you should already have a draft of, and many of you have a light draft of that. That's all great. So here are the different elements. Your question map, first round of research and sources found, that's just a list of sources. Your proposal, which is from your original proposal. Your primary research plan or methods outline, we did upload that and you got feedback on the forum to that. Your 2 sets of annotated works cited, 5 for the first one and 4 to 6 for the second one, making a total of at least 9. An outline, which you will be responsible for essentially creating that on your own. We will be able to answer questions about that. The first 3 pages peer review, which that's actually going to be connected to the peer review. I believe we're only going to have, the first 3 pages peer review will be the literature review, peer review, and then we'll have a full peer review of the whole paper. And then your final paper and theory of writing, The theory of writing is your second reflection. So that's all due at the end of the semester. So we have until the very last few days of the semester to finish all this work, but we will pace it and do each section at a time. Okay, I hope that makes this assignment more clear.